What's going on, guys? Obsolete Z here to talk about the state of Destiny 2 PvP on console. We got some good stuff lined up, so you don't want to miss it. Stay tuned. Hey guys, hope you all are having a fantastic day today. Obsolete Zeo here. I want to quickly point out classic PS4 move, console move. Start of the game, switch to a different secondary, and zero ammo. That's how we do it here. So today we're talking about the state of console PvP in Destiny 2. Especially pre-Shadowkeep, I do eventually want to mention nerfs, weapon balance, tuning, that kind of thing for Shadowkeep, and what I expect and what I think should happen. But prior to that, I want to talk a little bit about movement, because it's actually dawned on me as I was editing some Modern Warfare videos. This is actually a change of pace for that, and I hope you guys enjoy. And I'd love some feedback as to what you guys want to see from me. But as I was editing that video not 30 minutes ago, I noticed a big difference in movement and precise aiming between the two different games. On Destiny 2, and this kind of brings up that age-old debate of Call of Duty versus Halo, and I don't want to get into that, obviously, but it's interesting because back in the day, Call of Duty was known as a Twitch shooter, primarily, and Halo had that, but it was mostly a little bit floatier in the mechanics of movement, especially on console. So I want to talk about how I notice here with my gameplay. Now, I am on force sensitivity, trying to compensate with hitting more exacting hand cannon shots, that I feel a little bit more sluggish. Animations, I don't know how that guy didn't die right there. What a god. But animations in general, and this is exemplified by that beginning clip where I started the game and immediately switched weapons, and that time took a while of just actually performing that animation and getting the UI to show up in the first place. This is problematic to me on console, and it's one of those things that is a big gripe of mine where I really would like to go to PC for that added benefit. You can do so many different things in PvP and PvE where you have that added gain of latency or lack thereof, whereas on console, it's kind of frustrating. And I don't think this is going to get addressed in Shadowkeep, and maybe ever, but it's one of those things that just is a very large annoyance, and it's just one of those background things that you kind of think of sometimes where you're sitting there waiting for you to go into orbit and everything, and it's like, why Bungie, why? But when it comes to animations as well, I want to talk about that. The difference that I noticed in Modern Warfare vs. Destiny 2 is some of these actions take a little while longer to perform. It almost feels like that Halo weightiness and floatiness to some degree. You know, when you go in from a slide to trying to scope in, there's a slight delay. When you go to try and make a quick turn, which is what I want to talk about with traction, making precise movement can feel like a challenge sometimes. It actually feels somewhat of a chore compared to other games that are comparable, FPS-wise. So I don't like this. I don't like that it seems almost necessary to a degree that you want to be enticed to have traction on. Like, that shouldn't be a mandatory thing, and with Shadowkeep, we noticed that there are some items that still have traction as a mod. So I don't like this inherent, here's PC, it's just built in, but on console you have to have this mod to sometimes stay competitive. Now, I don't have traction boots on a lot of the different PvP builds that I use, and I think it's noticeable sometimes. I just feel so much slower without this gain of traction. But I think it also affects the difference in just my playstyle when I play this versus Modern Warfare. You're incentivized to lay back, to play a dad build, as they call it, pulse rifles, shotguns, hand cannons, sniping. Sit back, team shoot, stay in a group mentality, and I like this sometimes. I like the idea of having to work with a team to make shit get done, right? And in PvP, I like having some element of strategy, but often as a solo player in competitive, holy shit, get fucked, kid. This was a really cool moment. I kind of wish I survived just a little bit more to try and maybe get them on spawn, and I'll talk about supers inevitably as well, but as a solo player in competitive, even quick play, you don't get these moments all that often because there's very often a lack of communication. It's difficult to synchronize with your team. So in age-old Destiny issues for PvP, console or PC, is the idea of solo queuing. And I want to see this in Shadowkeep get really resolved. It looks as though Bungie is working on this with different modes, change-ups, and with different cues in how you get involved as a solo player. It looks as though for the first time as a solo player you can finally go into a playlist and be chill as a solo player. Everybody else around you, solo player. No more 4 stacks, no more 6 stacks. This is something that I've wanted for a long time, and I hope that this delivers the way that we want it to. I hope the queue times are still kind of easy to get into, and I hope that as everybody queues in as solo players, you now have a really compelling mode where the strategy becomes that much greater. If you can communicate with your teammates, if you can form relationships, if you can on the fly try and group up with your team, you will be benefited from these changes. And I like that a lot more than as a solo player trying to fight in this team-oriented meta where you go against a 4 stack and your team just from the start doesn't group up, kind of splits apart, gets picked off, and then slowly but surely they build up their super before you and you guys fall behind. With supers, it definitely feels like one team always gets their super before the other team, usually, and almost exclusively the full team prior to anybody on the other team getting it, because unless you are a hard carry on the other team and the rest of your teammates are failing miserably, you are, as a round-winning team, right, on survival or countdown, you are very often going to get your supers quicker, and despite orb generation, you are almost always as a team going to get that just that little bit earlier than your opponents. What this then does is it snowballs the next round in super timings where you can now, when your opponent who's down in rounds gets their supers inevitably, if you have that backstocked, you can counter their instant use super with your roaming super and what have you. Roaming supers are super problematic. We all know the difficulties in getting a Titan Slam right on your face, right on your skull, dying, respawning, dying again to the roaming super, and then spawning on the other side of the map, and because the map design is such that they can very quickly get to the other side of the map with their ridiculously long duration roaming super, you die again. This happens all too often, and especially in solo, if you are running against a well-oiled machine that is a competitive 4-stack, you can get demolished this way, chain up a lot of deaths really quickly, and fall very far behind. And this doesn't allow for much counterplay. This doesn't allow for much interplay between the timings of supers, or just feeling that satisfactory, huge, really sick 2-3 kill Nova Bomb, really sick 2-3 kill Titan Slam, or that awesome defensive bubble in maybe a countdown. These scenarios don't have to happen nearly as much because you're always incentivized for that Arc Staff, that bottom tree Titan, that top tree Warlock, that bottom tree Dawnblade, right? These supers are by far and away so much stronger and lengthier in duration than their counterpart single-use supers that it's always going to be the case that somebody with a super these days usually gets a multi-kill. And should that happen? Maybe, but I think there should be more skill acquired in, one, the timing of it. The only time that we see counterplay right now is maybe with the Hunter the hunter knives, right? That is like the one time where you activate your super as like a stormcaller, for instance, and then you get knifed by that roaming like this kind of. That good old blade barrage gonna get you. But moving a little bit away from supers, I've rambled a little bit on that, and I think Bungie will listen. I think they will adjust these to some degree. Weapon balancing. We're coming to the end of the video, but I just want to briefly touch on scouts, auto rifles, and the like. I wish there was more of a balance here. I wish there was more weapon variety, and I wish there was more diversity in archetypes and what you want to play. You know, there's Recluse, there's there's Revoker, there's Mountaintop. Where's all the other weapons? I want more choices, and I want more diversity in my gunfighting. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful day. I'm leaving you with a couple video options that I hope you guys enjoy. Please leave your feedback. Let me know what you guys want to see. And there's more Modern Warfare and Destiny 2 videos on the way for sure. Have a good one.